Hello everyone, welcome to the IDFish tutorial on how to utilise the account management system on your IDFish application. I'm starting from the A to Z listing screen where all our 644 species are currently listed. That number is actually increasing pretty much daily at the moment. I'm going to use the Queensland East Coast as our example region, and I'm going to use coral trout as our example species. So if I type in the word trout in our A to Z listing, it narrows down all the fish that have trout in either their common name, their other common name, or their scientific name. The fish in question, which meet the requirements under the Queensland legislation as coral trout, are the bar-cheek trout, blue spot trout, common coral trout, coronation trout, high-fin coral trout, lyre-tailed trout, and the passion fruit coral trout. You catch any one of those species, it counts towards an individual limit against each species, but it also counts to a combined limit of coral trout. In addition to that, it also counts towards a coral reef finfish limit. So that's a lot of limits to be aware of whilst you're fishing. So if I select the common coral trout, which you see here, and I press the plus sign, asks me if I'm fishing from a boat. Yes, I am, and I'll put down the fisherman. It comes up with a note which is legislatory information. Please note, common coral trout must be kept whole unless the fillet size is 40 centimeters or greater and the skin and scales left intact, with 2 whole partial fillets of any regulated coral reef fin fish is taken to possess 1 whole regulated coral reef fin fish. So that's regulatory information that you need to be aware of when you catch that species. If I catch another one now, it won't come up with that message again. It only comes up when you first add that particular species. So now I've got 2 common coral trout against 7, and you can see the count there occurring against that particular species. If I add now a coronation trout, I can't get the message again. That's because it's a new species and it's advising you about the regulatory information that you need to be aware of. But the next time I add it, it won't come up again. Okay, so now I've got 2 of the common coral trout and I've got 2 of the coronation trout. If I go into my count screen, I get a summary of the catch, what we refer to as our current catch. We've got 2 of the common coral trout, then 2 of the coronation trout. This is a good screen to go to if you're catching a lot of the same species. You don't have to go and search or find the fish. It gives you a summary of the fish that you're currently catching, so I can quickly add another coral trout, common coral, and then add another coronation trout quite simply and easily. I can also then get from this screen see the limits button. If I press the limits button, I get a summary of my catch. So I can see there my common coral trout, I've got 3 of 7. Coronation trout, I've also got 3 of 7, which is pretty much what we've seen on the previous screen. But what it also gives me is my combined limits. So coral trout, I've got 6 of 7 coral trout, and my coral reef finfish, I now have 6 of 20. So not only am I keeping track of the individual species, but I'm also keeping track of the combined species limits as well. So based on this, I can catch 1 more coral trout and then I've reached my limit. So if I go back to the previous screen and I catch another coronation trout, comes up with a message, you have met your limit met. You have reached your combined possession limit for coral trout. So it tells me which limit I've met, which is fantastic news. Right, so I can keep that particular species because now I've met it. If I go and try and catch another one, add another one, it says you've exceeded your limit. So it gives me an option to continue, cancel, or release. We would encourage everybody to release that fish because that's a legal requirement to release that fish back to the water, but it still keeps a tag that of that particular catch. When I've completed my trip, I can hit the anchor button up here and it gives me an option to store and record that trip. So I'm going to put down, I'm just going to call this trout test. I was fishing from a boat. The tide station, I'll just choose the closest tide station to me, which is Serpentine Creek. And I can put a little note in here as a test trip. And then I can save that trip. Now that trip is going to be viewable now in my trip log. So if I go back to the more screen, I can go to trip log, and there it is, trout test. I can drill in there and have a look at the fish that was caught on that trip, and have a look at the limits that were caught. There is additional information I can store against that, but I will talk about that in later tutorials. Thanks for watching.